Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Metaworld News. This week we're here with the headlines for the week ending November 5th of the year 2017. If you hear any old background noises, it's because I'm in the UK and November the 5th is celebrated with fireworks and bonfires and explosions and all sorts of other things. Very distressing, but it's quiet at the moment, so I hope we are good. Right, this bulletin is about social worlds news and to a certain extent any important interfacing technology, including virtual reality interfacing technology. And the news I'm going to be reading out is basically highlights from our various feeds. You can follow my main feed at twitter.com/malburns, MALBURNS, which is the main feed, or you can indeed also follow twitter.com/Metaworld News, just as in the title of this show, which has more specific social worlds information. There is also, and I don't often mention it these days, but there's also another Twitter feeder, twitter.com/Malburns_writer, which contains news about arts and destinations, mostly in the grand old closed world of a Second Life. But it also features quite a bit of machinima and things like that, and some of it is of interest to you, even out here in the wonderful open sim wild frontier, so to speak. Anyway, enough of that. I will be starting with the general feeds from the Malburns feed and seeing what I got there. Not the busiest of weeks, but some quite interesting things have come up. So just to run down the headlines, I think I probably included these last week. I posted The Guardian. Virtual reality headsets could put children's health at risk. Researchers at Leeds University have been working on that. O'Reilly.com had a post on how to pick the right authoring tools for VR and AR. And also 7 days ago, how virtual reality developers are surviving the hype cycle. That was at The Verge. And I'm pretty sure we mentioned those last week. So I'm going to skip forward to 6 days ago. A site called VRScout.com. That's Scout as in Boy Scouts and the letters VR before it, but all one word. So VRSCOUT.com. AR and iris authentication, the future of shopping. This obviously is looking at commerce. In the week that Apple, of course, have brought out their new iPhone X, I believe it is. What comes next? Y, Z, back to A? Who knows? Which, of course, has facial recognition. In fact, it doesn't even have a home button. You have to look at it to open it. Apparently, this is a really extraordinary thing. Apparently, it's quite accurate in detecting your face and not detecting others, but apparently it has a real problem with siblings who are twins. And I don't mean identical twins. I mean siblings who are twins or have got facial similarities. You know, one sister picks up the other sister's iPhone X and whoop, she can get in. Interesting. Though it won't mistake too many people, I gather. Anyway, that's aside from the point, but this article actually features the idea that your iris will be able to identify you for making purchases when you're shopping. And it is kind of linked to VR. I mean, not only is AR slightly linked to VR, but it all ties in with the idea you'll be shopping online and walking through a virtual simulation of your local, store, your household goods peddler or your clothing peddler or whatever. And you'll look at the virtual assistant. She will recognize your eyeballs and then behold, debit your account. There you go. That's the future of shopping. Money, money, money. Right. Post at uploadvr.com. Again, uploadvr is all one word with VR in letters, of course. Tactai is spelled TACTAI, as in tactile AI, I guess. They want to bring better touch feedback to virtual reality. Yeah, another company basically getting in with the gadgets. As far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. They're all possibilities at the moment. There's no comprehensive interface for virtual worlds, and indeed, although they make a lot of fuss about headsets, who says you can't interact pretty immersively on the screen with tactile inputs and gesture recognition and whatever. So, a whole part of the long gamut here of people coming up with ideas and Kickstarters and various other projects, and we'll see as time goes which ones take off. RoadToVR.com, Kent Byer reporting here. Brian Lewis, Vice President of Research for Personal Technologies at Gartner Research, where they make predictions, of course. And actually, this, I think, is a Voices of VR podcast, too. Basically, Gartner's Brian Blue is talking about the state of the VR and AR industries. So that's audio. But it has good kind of summary on the website too, if you haven't got time to listen to it. Right. Meanwhile, Google's AR and VR chief talks about ambient computing, conversational interfaces, and AR VR strategy. And again, this post is at roadtovr.com, but I believe is simply their own embed of voicesofvr.com. And all these were early in the week on Monday. Then it did get actually rather quiet during the week, so we come more to the end of the week here. Hypergridbusiness.com. Now, this isn't David or Maria Karloff for that matter. It's Nuala Ada, whose name is familiar to me in world somewhere. She basically wrote an article for Hypergrid Business asking the question, can virtual reality stop sexual harassment? Obviously, it's 2 days ago. I wouldn't say it's just topical. I would say it's probably been written because it's topical. But anyway, it's interesting questions to be answered there. RoadToVR.com, yes, again. Microsoft, they be the people that make that Windows thing, have joined OpenXR, becoming a decisive backer in the open royalty-free AR/VR standard. OpenXR is a consortium run by the Kronos Group. We mentioned this before. It's you don't hear about it much in the public sphere, but basically, they're working to standardize the way applications communicate with each other, and in this particular case, in the AR and VR spaces, and apparently Microsoft have just sort of decided that maybe they ought to be along to that. Lots of people, HTC, AMD, Nvidia, Epic Games, Unity, Intel, Qualcomm, Sony, Samsung, Valve, Oculus, Google, they're already in there. So I guess Microsoft wants to be part of the club. Mm-hmm. Okay. Better late than never, eh? Yep. Right. VoicesOfVR.com, the actual site, yesterday, number 590 of their series, Designing the Future Through Sci-Fi World Building. This is looking at designing using VR. VR represents a shift from telling stories to building story worlds that people experience and interact with. And in this particular case, it's look at the sci-fi influence in that, because obviously in virtual reality, you don't unnecessarily, and I do say the word necessarily, have to take actual reality into account. In other words, if you want a floating sitting in the sky, then you simply switch off gravity, although gravity is probably not there in the first place, but you get the idea. Right. Virtual Reality Newsnet. So that's Virtual Reality, the words, and then news.net. New research could put an end to queasy VR experiences. New research from the UK and Germany is looking for a way to provide quicker and visually sharper experiences on the basis that the better they are, the less sick you will feel. And obviously the grand quest is on to get things better and better and better, so that you don't notice any, what's it, uncanny valley or whatever they call it. Certainly, I know Samsung. I think it's Samsung. Seem to be jumping ahead with everybody with double 8K miniature 8K screens that are supposed to be kind of pixel perfect and everything else, but clearly that's not going to stop everybody doing research and possibly trying out their own little tricks, as evidenced by the light field technology, for example, which isn't in the news this week, but is a totally different approach to projecting light into your eyes. Right. Designers prototype new approaches to VR headset ergonomics and input. A post at roadtovr.com. Two common types of head mounts for VR headsets dominate the market today: the side and top strap approach and the halo approach, which is mostly on the head. But this article is really looking at designers who are trying to prototype even more new approaches, and maybe one of them will actually think of glasses, and I will approve tremendously. But anyway, apparently the headsets we got today are just not good enough for some designers who think they can do better. So read all about it. Read about the race at roadtovr.com. Uploadvr.com again. Building a playground of 3D user interfaces. I'm just going to open this one for a little bit more detail. I can't. Mainstream VR AR import continues to evolve. Early days of gaze-only import to controllers and fully articulated hand tracking. So again, we're dealing with gesture and tactile tech, as it were. And we're moving beyond flat user interfaces and 2D screens towards a future filled with spatial interface paradigms that take advantage of depth and volume. And the next paragraph says here at Leap Motion. Now, this is actually a post at Upload VR, but I've got a feeling it was written by somebody at Leap Motion, because he keeps saying, here at Leap Motion, we're doing this, that, and the other. Leap Motion, for those of you who don't know, is it's about the size of a USB stick, and you rest it near your monitor, and it works with your webcam if you've got one. It uses everything you've got plugged into your machine, including its own little stick, to censor gestures you may be making with your hands and things in front of the screen. It's rudimentary, but it gets better and better, and the engine that runs it is being integrated in all sorts of other things. So it's not just a standalone Leap Motion. There's a lot more to the equation, and it's an example of a very simple thing that you can plug in that enhances your ability to, well, in theory, you can forget your mouse and keyboard. You can just flap your hands in front of the screen, or all the sensors in this little stick will pick up your movements, and it can also use your standard webcam to double check that it's reading you properly, if you see what I mean, so it can match the visual to the sensors and check that they're accurate. Anyway, obviously this is a device, but the issue here in the article is much more about the idea of building the 3D user interfaces. In other words, 3D mechanisms where you can use 3D space to actually interface with your computer over and beyond the gadgets used to do so. Right, uploadvr.com has a post. AR, augmented reality, of course, is on the verge of transforming the human-computer relationship. Oh, gosh golly. Certainly one of the things that happened this week, I haven't really played around with it, but I gather that Amazon's app on my iPad with the new iOS actually allows me not only to go shopping in a sort of virtuality or augmented reality now. So I can already do this. Apparently, I can hold my iPad up, so that the camera can see my room, and then I can go to, I don't know, IKEA, and I can drag an armchair from IKEA into that photograph and manipulate it and actually see how the IKEA furniture fits in my room. and I can then decide to buy it. So it combines the photographic, video you're getting from your camera, which is of course 3D, with 3D models that are coming in, and they call that AR. And it's actually, of course, no surprise that Amazon and people are moving into this, because if there's a buck to be made, I gather that Amazon already makes most of the bucks on the planet, but they apparently want more of them. So they are moving into that quite happily. In fact, there was it was on the political side, I think it was Alternate side during the week, analysing just how much power Amazon themselves have. Apparently, money is actually flowing from the US federal government, and not to mention local government, into Amazon. Every city wants a new Amazon headquarters in it, and they will pay to get it. It's not a matter of, they're trying to blackmail, bribe Amazon. I can't think Amazon takes all the money, all the bribes. And apparently the federal governments are up to some kind of shenanigans too, by paying Amazon to do things for them, etc. So obviously the Post was complaining about the amount of taxpayers' money that was going to Amazon instead of the infrastructure, or some such thing. Anyway, okay, I'm going to move to the Metaworld feed now. That was it for the Mal Burns feed. Another post from hypergoodbusiness.com. I think this is David Karuki who authored it. Content theft quickly demoralizing for creators. It seems like we've been here 1,000 times before. Yes, another post. Yes, it was written by David Karuki. Creators do not speak up. Theft and illegal distribution of their content is hurting the morale and creativity, and may even be driving some out of OpenSim altogether. I doubt if they're going to get far if they run off to Second Life. In fact, it follows up with Second Life. I did go to Second Life to try and reach some, but nobody's done anything. So I imagine Second Life is just as guilty of this in their own way, with the exception, of course, that they're walled gardens, so they can keep it in-house. Some quotes from Linda Kelly and Lena Vanelli of the Metropolis Grid. But it's nothing we haven't really heard before. And I think it overblows exactly what the problem is. Terry Ford from DigiWorlds, who I'm hoping to have on our InWorld review show very shortly, but it isn't today, unfortunately, also talks about some ways to avoid the issue, which of course is actually being helpful, really, isn't it? Right, various YouTube videos on that feed, including a few from Cherry Mango on Festabby. Festabby isn't actually going on yet. It hasn't really been set for this year, but she is actually publishing a whole load of videos featuring the abbeys and stuff from previous years and stuff, and they're all very fine. They're mostly in black and white, which makes them really rather nice and moody and ghostly, but some good stuff there. hgsafari.blogspot.com. This is Thursday Ember's blog for the Hypergood Safari, and she posted 2 days ago about a collector's safari, which was basically the one we went to on Wednesday. I will mention this because we won't be doing an in-world review today, and when I tried to get back to this grid to do some photographs for a feature, it was playing up, but the first visit of Safari last week was actually fascinating. I was actually late to the second destination because you couldn't get me out of the first. It was on a grid called the Croatan grid, or Croatian grid, Kroatan. And they had a Halloween hunt last year, which was the Spooky Hospital, and this time it's graduated to being a whole spooky small town. Steeped in atmosphere and good girlish behaviour, called Abandonato. Oh, and the billboard actually closes today, November the 5th. So if you want to see it, you want to get in there. When you land, you can actually wear a HUD they give you. You will find it better to go into edit mode and drag the HUD off screen. It doesn't actually do anything for you except blind you to anything else on the region. You can't see anything. So you need to move it off screen, and you do actually have to be wearing it because you will find there's a lot of characters around. They're not NPCs, they're just statuesque figures. But when you click on them, they give you various clues, and they even give you prizes and things like that. So you need to be wearing the HUD out of the way hidden to be able to pick up those things. But you basically have to solve this mystery, and I was there for the 90 minutes we were there, plus about another half hour before I got dragged out by urgent IMs to the next donation. So I never really finished, although I think I got pretty close to it. It was just fascinating because each character you meet has a different perspective, a different clue. Some of them refuse to give you clues and tell you they're busy, but they're giving you a present to keep you going, and that sort of thing. There's a good sense of humour in there too, and it's not at all the Halloween ghoulish kind of experience that, for those of you who aren't very keen on that, like me, it's just full of mood. There's no zombies, whacking you every 10 seconds and things like a certain number of venues I've been to recently. So that was a good stop. And you can find out a bit more at hgsafari.blogspot.com. Blog.highfidelity.com. High Fidelity is spelled HIGHFIDELITY. This is the new social world being built by Philip Rosedale and his cohorts. Philip Rosedale, of course, being the original founder of Second Life. And this article is actually by Liv Erickson. I suspect it joins together with a speech Philip gave over here about a week ago in Europe, which I've seen headlines from, but no record of it. Technologies behind the social shopping VR experience in High Fidelity. She is actually looking not only at the shopping experience in High Fidelity as it exists right now, but also very interesting information about the way it's sort of going to be going. And there have been a lot of comments and replies and things to this post because it goes into quite a lot of depth, and people seem to be quite excited about the way they're approaching it, although it is a unique approach to their platform at the moment. Also, another video we had up on the Metaworld feed is Delphi Talks. Now, Delphi Talks is in a Delphi region on Sciencebase platform. This is another mesh-based platform that is qualifies social world, even though is in many ways walled garden at the moment. Their CEO is one of the founders of OpenSim, so there's a close relationship here. The Delphi Talks basically is a weekly talk on a region there, and it's mostly to do with storytelling and emotion and things like that. A lot of the people they've been speaking to are, from theatre and things like that in the real world, and largely based in the UK here. And but they film it on video and post it to YouTube. It's one of those nagging things that annoys me because it's got their interface and adverts all over it, basically, so you're in no doubt about what you're watching. But some of the talks have been very interesting, and last week they posted Philip Wells and Sirish Kamar Manji. Philip Wells performs everywhere from St Paul's Cathedral to Channing's Wood Prison, and from Buckingham Palace to children's hospices, whereas Sirish is a legendary tabla player. And this particular one was a talk, but it was also a bit of a performance too. So good on them there. Right, moving backwards a bit. I'm getting backwards today instead of forwards. This is not a good thing, really, is it? He tells himself. Okay, good news for all avatars. we have, of course, discussed quite a bit recently Globits, and those of you who are familiar with OpenSimWorlds, and I believe a couple of other places too, they use a virtual currency system called Podex. And on last Monday, October 30th, there's a single post from Podex. It's 3 lines, and that's it. Good news for all avatars. Transfers of coins between grids are free of charge since today. You can now easily use your phones in every grid served by Podex. Finally, that means that I can take my wallet from Canada to DigiWorlds or another Podex using grid and actually use my coins across grids. And I have a feeling that possibly the fact you can use Globis that way may have had some small influence on the decision by Podex to open up what you might call a roaming wallet. Anyway, that actually was quite significant news, I thought. It shows some of the currency operators here taking things rather seriously. Right, a blog, kokuaviewer.org. That's K-O-K-U-A viewer, Kokua Viewer, all one word. So blog.kokuaviewer.org. Nikki Berrien writing about the path forward for the Kokua Viewer. As of 7 days ago, so I may even have had that on last week's show, so I'm not sure about that. But if you're fans of the Kokua Viewer, the modern Kokua Viewer I had, there are some older versions being around that actually have downloaded old code and compiled it, but just look out for those, I guess. Okay, now I'm moving across to Google Plus, which is where there tends to be a whole load of gossiping going on about OpenSim and those worlds. Just more or less a repeat of stuff we've already covered. The content theft post, hypergrid business, adverts to the Open Simulator Community Conference, of course, which is happening in December. The agenda for that will be up shortly. Now, something I don't do here, I did mention at the beginning of the show normally, is read out my own second live feed. But I thought I would just have a look at it today. Mostly we're not doing our own World Review program this week again, I'm afraid. It's a case of missing guests. This is becoming a habit. But I thought, just to give you a hint of what's in that feed if you want it. lindenarts.blogspot.com, for example, have an announcement about Emery Milleneux's opening his installation called A Night to Remember, the Titanic experience like never before. That opens today, although it obviously goes on for a few weeks. And that's at LEA, which is Linda Endowment for the Arts, LEA 25, to be honest. lindenarts.blogspot.com was where I got this from. Another useful post over there, 1,000,000 Happy Endings.wordpress.com. They're writing about virtual artifacts, another art exhibition that was by Ellie Thorkfeld. That was opening today, contains 2D and 3D art sculptures by Ellie. Goodnight-photography.com. Goodnight Photography is quite literally a photographer's site, and it's very good for what I call destination posts. They're a very good photographer who just enjoys visiting regions that are very photogenic and taking good photos of them. And their most recent visit a couple of days ago was Seagull Islands. We always used to rely heavily on in our Repay's blog, which is Modemworld. That's MODEMWORLD.me, modemworld.me, and she has an article about Malal's Autumn, or Autumn Cheer, which is a destination in Second Life. She also has an article on art at La Maison d'Anneli in Second Life. an art gallery curated by Anneli Abeyanti. Opened on October 25th, and it collected this mix of 5 artists, etc. Also in this feed, I actually put some of the glossy magazines that turn up now and again from Virtual Worlds. There's a new issue of one that's geared towards men called L'Homme magazine. When I say geared towards men, they sell you trousers instead of jackets, basically, in the fashion section. They all are fashion obsessed, these magazines, although they do include events and destinations a little bit too. There is also it's actually a series called Simploring, sim as in simulator and ploring as in exploring. And they're at number 85. They went to Sunfall, and the site for Simploring is Dio Mitamura. Sorry, that's the author. Right, TheMaurers.me. That is their site, and you'll find several posts a week there. In our page, Metaworld ME also reports on the 2017 National Diabetes Month in Second Life. In the USA, this is the National Diabetes Month, and the American Diabetes Association work with various concerns in Second Life to highlight issues on that very topic, basically. Second Life's Home Destination Guide highlights diversity and history for the week. That's sl.governormarley.com. GOVERNORMARLEY.com. I'm passing through a whole load of extra video here. Pay also reports on Giovanni's allegories. That's more art in Second Life. Oddly enough, this feed has some pictures from me of the Metaworld grid. Look, that's naughty. That's not Second Life. I think I'm being naughty by sticking that in there. Mm-hmm. It's meant to show people that my grid's better than Second Life. Wishful thinking, I think. And actually, I'm only 2 days into this. So Chica Ghost has Cara, secondlife.blogspot.com, talks about Chica Ghost's new installation, Land of Owls. Loverdag.com, LOVERDAG.com, another great place for photography and stuff. Looks at the place called Hercynia. And what am I doing? What am I doing looking at Second Life? I'm not going to go back to the whole week, actually. It's just will be crazy because this is a very busy feed. I will go back 6 days to a final post by in our pay. It's called the Darkwood Forest in Sansar. And I haven't actually been posting many of these links because I have incoming Second Life feeds and stuff, keeping an eye on arts and destinations as a rule. And of course, it's a bit confusing at the moment because people who are supposed to be posting about Second Life are also posting about Linden Lab's other world called Sansar. And as far as the residents of Second Life are concerned, they seem to be treating them as part and parcel of the same thing. So all the feeds are getting totally mixed up there. But Inara did find this Darkwood Forest in Sansar. And Chats to the Praise weekly podcast now seem to have switched from Second Life to Sansar. And there seem to be endless live streams of they got a special name for it. It's not destinations in Sansar, it's something else. Map hopping or something, I think they call it. Anyway. So there was one post on CaitlinTobias.com, CaitlinTobias. She's one of the guiding lights behind SL blogger support and bloggers groups. And she's moving on, but she's got a rather nice little piece about that. And the reason I actually went... I clicked on that feed, and of course I can't find anything in it that's relevant, is that there was a posting which seems to have upset quite a lot of people from Linden Lab during the week. Apparently they're increasing their fees. And this means that if, for example, you buy Lindens, I don't know, regardless of the exchange rate to use in World, They're upping their commission on that transaction. So the surcharge you pay on top of the conversion rate is now going to be higher. I believe they're upping the commission that they take when you cash out money as profit. And there seems to be some story that this has something to do with combating fraud and money laundering, and that costs them money to do so. But the fuss seems to me that what seems to be a few adjustments to their payment terms has a domino effect on basically the entire world economy. So it means as if Second Life wasn't expensive enough, in many ways now for users buying things and stuff, the prices are going to be going up and it's going to be even more expensive. I'm not going to absolutely rule on the exactness of that. I've long since lost interest in the way that a closed economy run by a private company is actually running. But it does sound like they are hoping to sort of keep Second Life going and constantly updated for the modern age, as well as Sansar. And the suggestion is that there's loads of costs involved in doing all this, and that they're going to be imposing taxes on their users to cover the costs wherever they can. I suspect is at the end of the day, what's happening is actually a company, after all, running their own product. So with that, it's been a bit longer this week because I've got a few extras in, but I've also got James here, James Out Loud, and I'm just going to hand over to him for the latest news on the OpenSim Vanilla Core developers, really, and anything else he's got, of course.
Well,
James.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Mel. Once again, I was not able to attend the office hours. This is open office hours for grid owners and users to meet with the OpenSim core developers and just in general ask questions about the OpenSim server and virtual world environment. And it looked like a good meeting on Tuesday. There were many avatar names that I didn't recognize, and some of the usual conversation about database speed and database calls, and a little bit of discussion about, and I have to link into it more, but some aspect of a more lightweight mesh, which was an interesting idea. But I didn't really pick up the details on that. The thing that was really interesting is that one of the challenges of managing a open source software like Open Simulator is keeping up with the documentation. And an OpenSim developer by the avatar name of Andrew Hellershanks has gone through and updated a lot of the permissions and some of the critical aspects of the Open Simulator scripting language, OSSL, which is really valuable. It's really been needed for a long time, and that took him about a day's worth of work. So a good, strong effort to get that type of work done. So still things happening, still things improving with Open Simulator. So it's great to see a lot of people there, a lot of discussion, and it's a tool we're using now, and it's a lot of people using it. And that's about it for that meeting.
Okay, good to know. Well, actually, for somebody to, I suppose, it sounds like they've indexed all the OSSL codes, so tracked it all down and found out where it is to make it easily gettable.
Yep.
That sounds like a good thing, because there are just so many. There just seem to be a lot of glitches with scripts. I mean, on this region here, for example, there's a load of script faults. Not so much the scripts themselves, but the ones that have dialog boxes you're meant to interact with. Mm-hmm. And then often you hypergrid over to another region and other scripts, another grid, and other scripts there will be sort of not quite running, and I wonder whether it's compatibility issues or whether everybody's using different versions, and it's a niggling thing rather than a major impediment to hypergridding, but it is there, and scripts make a lot of things work in world that we've tried. They're not even essential to have any script at all, but some of them are so darn useful. They help me sit in my seat properly, as opposed to upside down on my head on the arm of the chair. Can be helpful.
Could do that, right? No, and without scripts, I guess we could log in and look around and maybe move, But that'd be about it. Scripts really add a lot of life
Oh,
to the
and of
environment.
course,
Yeah,
as you and I know, of course, in your other function here, you're multitasking on our camera systems.
that's
I
right.
mean, without scripts, we would not have cameras,
That's
or
right.
not anything like the cameras we got.
Yeah, be able to move from shot to shot. That's
Yeah,
a great thing that we can develop and make happen without having to contact the developers.
indeed.
Yep.
Okay, well, long may it last. And yeah. So I think that's about it for this week. Good to know that good to see things happening in high fidelity. Of course, we had that insight into their shopping and virtual goods thing, and over in SciSpace with like the Delphi's talks, which, if I recall, they are early. Oh, I'd have to double check. But it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget which day of the week it is, and it's at about um, early evening time in the UK, which I guess is probably lunchtime most of the USA. Um, yeah, but yeah, especially if you're interested in theatre and performance, those are well worth your attention, and they are streamed onto the web at YouTube too, so you can get them, and at Twitch, I believe, as well.
Oh, sure.
So you can get them all over the place, so to speak. Anyway, that's it for this week. We will be back again, of course, this time next week with another round of highlights. Probably back to a slightly shorter format, and probably not including Second Life links. Yeah, that will get us into big trouble. It'd be lovely to do, but we'd end up with an hour-long program.
Oh, indeed.
So
yep.
forget about it. Yeah, for those of you using Second Life, my commiserations. It's now going to cost you even more than it cost before. Cough. And if it's too much, just try OpenSim. It costs nothing. Well, there are bits that will cost you, but nothing like what you might be used to, put it that way.
Yeah.
And do remember the OpenSync Community Conference is coming up. It's you'll be able to hypergrid in there to the grid there. That is on the 9th, 10th of October. December. And the next weekend after that, 16th, 17th, if I got it right, is HIE, which is the Hypergrid International Expo, which is 4 half days of activities split into German, French, Spanish, and Italian. We can't do every language in the book, but that'll be happening the weekend after. So nice busy time for you in the run up to the holidays at the end of December. If you can cope with it, we'll just exhaust you, so you'll have no excuse but to relax on the holiday. So I hope you can make those. We will bring you further news on that as it happens. The agenda for the OpenSim Community Conference should be available in I think it's just over a week. I think it's probably a week tomorrow being Monday, and so that will be there then. The same for HIE, probably a week or so after that, and we'll bring you more info when the time comes. And if you are in OpenSim, of course, and on the hypergrid, don't forget that you meet a lot of your fellow traveller avatars at the Hypergrid Safari, which meets up at the HG Safari region on Franco Grid at 12 noon Pacific time. Yeah, I got that right. On Wednesdays, that is. I almost gave it a UK time for that, and then you'd have been in a mess, wouldn't you? Right. Okay, so that's about it. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now.